Hi, I'm Ryan and I am the Senior Partner for CES Lighting and Electrical Specialists. I've been with the company nearly 30 years and we specialise in designing electrical and lighting systems for historical buildings. We're passionate about historical buildings and we've been very fortunate to have been appointed as the lighting designers for Rochester Cathedral. It's a real privilege, and this video is here to show you some of the lighting aspects which have been incorporated in our design. On a normal process, we would all be standing here in the building. Due to COVID, we're having to film it, but we're doing this film so that you can see the aspects of the lighting scheme as best as you can without actually being here in the building. We're only able to show you one aspect of each area and one fitting. Where there may be a selection of 10 fittings doing one area, we can only show you one fitting. So there needs to be some imagination of what the whole thing would look like if all the fittings were in place. So the manufacturers have kindly given us lots of samples which we've spent a few days getting them in position and installing them and angling them so that we can do this. But again, it'll just be one fitting for each area so that you can just have an idea.
We have designed a simple lighting control system for Rochester Cathedral that also offers a great deal of flexibility. The current lighting is controlled from a variety of locations throughout the cathedral. However, the new lighting will all be controlled from one position. We will be using physical wall-mounted control plates with a number of clearly marked scenes. By the press of one of these scene buttons, the lighting will transition to the given lighting scenario. When greater flexibility is required, each of the lighting fixtures can be raised or lowered in intensity to cater for that event. When the cathedral is being hired out, the company can use an industry-standard connection to take control of the lighting. We all know by this point that LEDs are very energy efficient. One of the ways they achieve this is by producing wavelengths in the visible spectrum of light only. They do not produce the infrared or ultraviolet. LEDs have a long lifespan. This is both good for the environment and also good for ongoing maintenance. Glare control is of utmost importance through lighting design, and we use many methods to mitigate it.
So what's really important in a lighting scheme is to make sure that we focus on the ambient light, making sure that there is enough light for people to see one another and for people to read their material, people to congregate, people to journey around the building. So it's important that we create the right level of base light around the cathedral. And upon that, we start building in the other layers. The next layer would be the service leading lighting. So we would want to focus light onto the person who's leading services from the front so that their face is visible. Also to make sure the light is coming up over the top. So if they're reading from a piece of paper or material, they can see what they're reading. So on top of the service leading lighting, we would also then start looking around to find out what parts of the fabric, what feature lighting, what architectural detail do we want to enhance, to accentuate, so that people can see. So whether it be arcades or clerestory level or the triforium, it's let's build in the architectural detail upon that. So firstly, we're going to start in the nave. You've got your existing pendants where we want to put reliable LED lamps within the pendants that create good ambient light. And we were here the other day and we measured the light levels and it was about 50 lux. They need to be double or even 3 times that amount. So we do need to supplement with spotlights. So we've got spotlights throughout the nave that are being mounted onto the pendant brackets so that they're discrete and they will give a very good consistent and brighter level of light at floor level. You can see from the 2 spotlights that we've installed temporarily on the side of the bracket of the pendant. The first one is a singular flood that will light the floor, and there'll be about 3 on each bracket doing that to create the consistency of light. The other spotlight has a narrower beam and that is focused on the altar, and that's again just one spot doing that when there'll be a few from either side. Now I want to show you the layers of light within the nave. Firstly, at the arcades, we need 4 miniature fittings to be sitting on top of the capital with a linear lens that wash up the arcade, so you have the intensity by the light, but the light comes up to the very top part of the arches. The next section up, we're wanting to put flat fittings that sit on the ledge of the triforium, and they have a grazing product inside which will light up so you can actually see the stone detail at the top of the triforium. clerestory level, we want to put a linear fitting on the ledge of the clerestory, which will not only wash the window, but also spill lighting into the main roof section of the nave. The light on the clerestory level also captures the corbels. So when they're all in position, the corbels will also be lit by the roof lighting. With all these different aspects and different levels of light, you set them at the right intensities so that they all work together in a coherent way to show the different layers, and we can dim them and run them really low, or we can have them really bright and intense depending on the service and event. We want to light up the engineer plaques at the west of the nave, so when people are leaving the building they can see this architectural detail. One of the greatest challenges we've got is it's very difficult to put any product in this area. We would like to put a light source at the base of the plaques so that they would light up the recess, accentuating the stonework, but also the mosaic tiles. For service leading, we need good lighting from the front, but also above so that the reading material can be lit. And we have various zones picked out on the drawings and in the design so we can light up the altar, the pulpit. Then we have the powerful RGBW coloured lights, which can offer the traditional warm white light, but by the press of a button could suddenly transform and actually give you an element of colour. This is just one product that we've got, but you'll have a collection of them around the transepts and in the nave, so we can really light up the pulpitum all the way back down to the seating in the nave, so that the east of the nave have this great flexibility of zones in warm white lighting or coloured lighting, depending on the service or event. For the aisle, we want to light the floor section with spotlights. We don't want to floodlight the aisle. We want to create pools of light as you go down the aisle, especially the north aisle, which is part of the Pilgrim's Passage. So we want a consistent pools of light all the way down through the transept, through the choir passage, all the way up into the choir transept, so that you can see the Pilgrim's Passage all the way down from beginning to end. But we also want to be able to put some lighting on the wall facade. We don't want to pick out all the monuments and the plaques, but we want to create a soft wash of light below the windows in the aisle so that the walls have been met. Now we come to the pulpitum and the organ. Very visual as soon as you come into the cathedral through the west entrance. We want to be able to highlight each of the 8 saints by putting miniature spotlights smaller than your thumb behind the wooden sections. But then we want to light up the architectural detail of the organ itself, and we want to put little tiny lights and highlight the 9 niches in the centre, the pipe platforms and the detail behind. We haven't got the demonstration models in situ, but we want to put spotlighting onto the main pipework, but also put miniature spotlights to light up the angel figurines on the top of the organ from this side and also from the choir. In the Pilgrim's Passage, we want to put 5 spotlights to light the floor, fittings to light the wall sections, spotlight onto the emblem, and then 4 spotlights pointed up to the vault ceiling. Now we're looking at the lighting within the tomb of Walter de Merton. We've put some linear products behind the tomb that light up the mullions and the tracery and the vault ceiling. Then we've got 2 spotlights tucked behind the stone. One would give a soft wash of light across the body. The spotlight would then focus the face and the hands. Looking at the chapter door, 2 recessed light fittings below each side of the doorway would then light up the stone detail around the chapter door, highlighting all the stonework and all the carvings. And within the choir, we want to make really good use of this boundary wall with the wall paintings. We want the stanchions to light the people of the choir, but we want the wall paintings to be lit and illuminated. So placing a product above the string course to graze so we get consistent light down the wall facades. These light fittings would have an anti-glare accessory, be painted to match the background so that the light itself isn't seen, only the wall facades. We've also got 6 spotlights lighting up the reredos and the high altar. Obviously the reredos and the high altar can be seen all the way from the west through the organ door all the way up. And then again, we're talking about the layers in the presbytery and in the transepts and in the choir, that we want to light up the lower window reveals, then the clerestory level, and different here from the nave transepts. We actually want to put small miniature fittings at the bottom of each of the ribs, the vault ribs, and light up and accentuate the ribs so they'll be dark and light in contrast through the whole of the vault ceiling within the choir transepts and the presbytery. And that's the end of the lighting demonstrations. These were the fittings that we were able to install from the manufacturers, and it gives you an idea of the types of lights and how they would impact the cathedral. And it's all of those lights that you build together, set at the right intensities and the right levels to create a scene of light. Sometimes really subdued for the right event, and sometimes really bright and vibrant. Obviously, the design documents cover the full scheme, all the detail of everything that we've designed. But I hope that this filming of these demonstrations have given you the ability to be able to see what we're proposing whilst not being here in the building.